And then next hand is 9-5. Okay, so yeah, just opening nice and wide. Could go slightly bigger there just to deter, well, this sort of thing from happening. Even when this happens, there's two people in the pot. It's a nice dry board. It's our board. We have a gutter. We have a backdoor flush draw. People aren't going to play back enough, so we can just go a nice small size. Get two calls. Luckily, we hit the straight on the turn. This guy leads out, which I think is a 5 incredibly often, or 2 pair or a set, maybe. I certainly just don't think there's many bluffs he could have, and then if he did have them, I don't think he'd choose to bluff in this way anyway. Just call, make our range look as weak as possible. Less so for the bluffs, I don't think he has many. If he does happen to have a set, let's let him believe that we have ace-king, that he can be just trying to get some thin value against. Which he could be doing, for example, here, like a third pot. I don't even know if it's worth raising, like, because if we just call and we lose to 5-6 the odd time he has it, we're still leveling chips with Storm. I'm not sure he really ever calls this off if he does somehow have like pocket threes or something. So yeah, I think in retrospect I'd just call here. I think I should, because I thought maybe there's an outside chance that we can fold him off a chop, but I don't think that really ever happened. Next hand 9 deuce. Just get another walk. Very good for our stack those walks. Then king queen next. Could limp, call it off, but I'd rather just, you know, it is a value hand, but just taking down the blinds and antes is perfectly fine by me. So I just like jamming and like protecting our hand. Queen 6. These guys, same sort of stack size, about 11 or 12 blinds. I just like jamming. Just really apply some pressure with a reasonable hand. Unfortunately, we do get called. He's going to be waking up the hand here, and it's aces. We are still, if we lose, we are still a good amount ahead of Storm, which is good. Next hand, ace 5. Which is standard open. And we get some folds. King 4. Same as before, just really want to deter him from doing this. Reasonable enough hand. Can apply some pressure post flop. Does jam on us, which is a shame. Again, still think it's a hand until proven otherwise. You know, by seeing quite a few more things like that. 10-9 is the next hand. So just slightly ahead of Storm at this point. This guy very, very short. And we do, even if he was going a bit lighter with his limp jam there, it's still good to be ISOing, because we are going to be winning a lot of walks like this. Okay, next time Queen Jack. Okay, plenty good enough to open. And we have folds. King 5. We could play it, we could not play it. It's a fairly tightish range, but yeah, I could go either way here. We call. So same sort of thing. They check back the flop. They have that kind of capped range. The jack does help him to some extent. You can have some hands like ace jack, king jack, stuff like that. Ace king, ace queen, etc. are really helped by this card. But even those hands, like the jack X, we just shove here, really do not like that at all. And it's not like they're going to be finding enough check backs with super nutted hands. Plus, then you added to that, we could play our pair for pair strength and just try and get it to showdown. I think there's more value in using it as like a semi bluff here. So we've got like, even against Jack 10, we've got 5 outs, right? So, it's not like we've got absolutely nothing here. So, I like going really, really big. He wants to wait this guy out, so he's going to make a lot of folds, and as you can see, he folds nice and quick. 6-4. 12 blinds here or so. Seems like a good shove, particularly with the ICM pressure. And ace 2. Again, just a standard shove here. Next hand is ace 9. So it seems like a standard open. And then we can apply a lot of pressure to this guy. So just like before, do a small C-bet. And not too small, because if we go quarter, it's going to be hard to get all the money in with our strong hands. So I think to represent those strong hands, we need to go a smidge bigger, like this, like a third. And he's not going to be able to check raises too hard. Yeah, so just like starting the pot this way. We do get raised, and I don't expect him to be doing that too wide. We want to maintain our chip lead on Storm. Okay, so next hand, 4 deuce. So again, he's just limping into our big blind. And we just really want to disincentivize him from doing that. So yeah, 3.5x even with this weak of a hand. We're going to, we've got 4 high, no showdown value. We've got a nice gutter. This is a really good, it's a good board as well. A really good hand to start bluffing with. And it's quite a nice stack size to put pressure on with a turn and a river bet. With these 2 guys dead short, we could put a ton of pressure on him. Yeah, and he folds. Okay, queen 4 next. I'm going to fold round to us, I think. Yeah, and just under 10 blinds. Good amount of pressure, got suited. Big card hand, absolutely fine to jam. Okay. The next hand we play. Oh, so we're down to 3-handed now. Yeah, level in chips with this guy. Yeah, really good to be picking up this hand here because we can hopefully pull ahead of him now. 3-bet, and he just folds. Kind of level on chips. It's tricky to do too much here with this hand. We're just going to let it go for now. Wait for a slightly better spot. And then this probably not quite good enough as well. And then again, very, very good to be picking up ace king here. Same as the queens. Just going to do the same sort of thing. He's going to be expecting us to go very wide. We just want to win the pot now. Is totally fine, pull ahead of him, but get the 4-bet jam. Yeah, we're not folding it through king queen, which I think is probably quite a good way to play back against what we're doing. I guess it's an added bonus of being aggressive is we do add a little bit of value to these top end hands because they're more likely to do that sort of thing versus us. Okay, so heads up. There's going to be no ICM, obviously. We're up against MTT players playing heads up with antis. They're going to be too passive, too foldy, so we're going to be really pressing with the aggression. So ISOing in particular, like they're not going to be limp raising us enough. They're going to be limp folding a lot. You're going to be able to attack them quite a bit post flop. Yeah, that sort of thing. Given the stack size here, we could go small and then bet turn and river and get all the money in. It's one of these boards where by the time we get to the river, hands like jacks isn't necessarily going to want to. There's not going to be many boards where it's going to want to bet 3 times for value, so we kind of lose our advantage of having the overpairs if we do go for that type of a bluff. So yeah, I don't mind kind of checking. They're not going to go crazy with betting into us super wide. So just sort of see what they do, and if they check, we're going to be betting turn and betting river, like nice and big, kind of representing those overpair type hands, good top pairs, stuff like that, against a very capped range. And if he bets, well, we don't have much hand and we don't mind just folding. Okay, 7-5. Plenty good to open, and we're going to be min raising. We're going to be min raising like, well, we're going to be playing every button because they're not going to be defending well enough. Quite shallow. We really want high card hands in this situation. Wouldn't be too bad to call here, but as I said before, I think people play too passive, and so I'd expect not a super wide range for 3-betting there, so I don't mind just folding. 10-9, quite a nice simple call. When we call, the top pairs are really pretty strong. On the second pairs as well, like this, can call a couple of barrels. If we 3-bet, stack size isn't great for it. You can have some 4-bet jams. When we do hit a hand, when we 3-bet, it's very not strong. Yeah. I'd rather 3-bet a better hand or a worse hand. So we call the flop, totally standard. Going to be able to continue on the turn with all this equity. It does check back though. Now I think it's worth like a very thin amount of value. Like if we check and he bets 2/3 or something like that, I don't think he has enough bluffs to where, and obviously he doesn't have worse for value to where we can call this hand. So I'd rather kind of set the price myself, get a few crying calls from like a King 5 type hand or something like that, or like Ace Jack by betting just nice and small. And then the other bonus of this is, it looks like an inducee, or he can't necessarily raise it too easily as a bluff. I mean, most of the hands he'd want to raise as a bluff would be something that could just very simply call as well if he thinks we're bluffing. Yeah, so it has to be bluffing with like either a really weak pair or complete air. There's not much complete air because of the type of board, and people are going to psych themselves out too much and think that I'm going to call that because I made it quite small as well. So I think they're going to assume that if I have a hand like this and he makes it small like this, we're just going to kind of flick it in because it looks like we've induced it. So they're going to kind of go down that thought process more often. And with a hand like King 5 or Ace Jack, they're not really even going to consider turning it into a bluff. They're just going to be like, do I call or do I fold? I think they're often just going to flick it in because that's just what people do. Yeah. Okay, 9-8. Bit deeper and a bit of a better hand. So we go 2.5x. Nice board to be c-betting. Keep our range nice and wide. Obviously it doesn't hit him very much. and then not really continuing versus this. Then Jack 4, continuing with the large amount of ISO in. You know, it's just, there's more ways to win the pot this way. If we check, we've got a wide capped range, which makes it really hard to win pots. If we raise, A, as I said before, they don't play very well against it. And then B, well, we can have everything. And obviously we get a great flop. Don't think there's any too much merit to checking, like people aren't going to go off bluffing it too much. So I'd rather just kind of get value from one spade hands that are, you know, drawing, well, oftentimes drawing dead. Then just kind of get a call from a pair that is just going to check back, things like that. Just folds. And then ace 10. So same as the 10-9, we're going to make it 2.5x. The same reasons as before. We go bigger on this board. We could go small, but you know, to get all the money in, we're going to have to go kind of big on the flop, because every bit that we go bigger on the flop means we can go bigger on the turn, means we can go bigger on the river. So it goes quite exponential like that. You know, I think his range is fairly inelastic. Like, you know, his pairs are just going to call to this size or the small size. His flush draws are just continuing no matter the size. You know, if anything, this maybe it folds out like 6-4, something like that. He doesn't have that too often. Yeah, and we just really want to start piling the money in against the hands that we're just sort of pipping, like King 10 or Queen 10, Jack 10, stuff like that. I don't mind kind of playing an unbalanced strategy here where I'm bluffing for the smaller size, and for this size I only really have value or really good bluffs, like kind of flush draws and stuff. Yeah, I just think people don't pick up on it enough, or if they do pick up on it, they don't make the appropriate adjustment. You know, if I only had like strongish value hands for this size, well, they should just obviously fold his lower pair, shouldn't he? But I don't think people are gonna, even if they make that read, that it's quite likely that you have a stronger range, I don't think they adjust accordingly. Then on the turn, the 2 flush draw makes it sort of hard for him to be folding anything, because he can just put us on either flush draw. So I think we can continue to go quite big. Also, it kind of takes potentially King 10, Queen 10, Jack 10 out of our range, makes this kind of polarized, at least in his eyes. And he does call, and it kind of creates this situation where, like, this is a lot easier, you know, 2/3 pot is a lot easier for him to call with a bluff catcher on the river than if it was closer to pot. So if I had a bluff here, I would have gone smaller on the flop. Basically, we'd end up at the river and it'd be a tough call for him with a 10x or something, because we'd end up making it around pot or more. Or we'd put the pressure on the turn, like we put the pressure on somewhere. But yeah, when we have a value hand, we want to make it nice and easy for him to call. And here, like, he might think that we don't value bet ace king, ace queen, something like that here. You know, so he might think we're quite polarized. We have been being aggressive, and kind of, you know, some of the 2 pairs, or what is like maybe 10-5 and 5 deuce, we don't necessarily, 5 deuce, we don't necessarily open. 10-5 offsuit, maybe we limp it pretty, stuff like that. So there's reasons for him to call, and he does find a reason. I don't know which reason he chose. we just find a way to call, and that's it. We take it down.